Hello everyone. My topic for the IB assignment is India's public health crisis when healthcare bankrupts families. The real problem the million faces, the doctor is overworked, seeing 100 patients daily, and there are no beds available. And the family is supposed to buy medicines from the outside pharmacies, and around spend of the families are 50,000, and the families which don't have much money, they need to borrow, they need to sell their assets, and that way they slipped into the poverty. And this is not a real story, it is a story of millions of Indian families every single year. At the root of this crisis, India does not spend enough on public health. If you talk about India, we spend as a share of GDP only 1.3% on public health, and the out of pocket burden is 63%, which is paid directly by the patients. And the WHO recommendations is for 3 beds per thousand people, but India has only zero point 0.6 hospital beds per thousand. And we spend around 1.3% of our GDP in public health, but China spends around 3% of its GDP. Brazil spends near 4%, and the global average is around 6%. So the devastating impact is with fewer than one doctor for every 1,000 citizens in rural areas and the inadequacy in hospital infrastructures, millions face impossible choices during the illness. And studies by the National Health Accounts reveal that every year approximately 55 to 60 million Indians slips into the poverty, and health spending is the second leading cause of rural indebtedness in India after agriculture. A legacy of underinvestment. In 1946, in the Boer Committee, which is even before independence, India was warned that it needed massive public health infrastructure, and the recommendations largely shelved. In 1980, the structural reforms, economic reforms actually squeezed the public spending further, reducing the health allocation. In 2002, National Health Policy, it promised 2% of GDP by 2010, and the target was missed. In 2017, the revised policy reset the goal to 2.5% of GDP by 2025. And if you talk about now, 2024 to 2025, the reality check, India stands at roughly 1.3%. It barely moved in 2 decades. The pandemic exposed our fragility. The COVID 19 crisis brutally revealed the consequences of decades of underinvestments. The hospital oxygen ran out, ICU beds were unavailable, and the crematoriums were overwhelmed. All of this happened in a country that exports pharmaceutical products to the world, yet cannot we protect our own citizens during a health emergency. So, what needs to be done? What are the immediate actions? Increase public spending, raise expenditure to at least 2.5% of GDP with clear legal mandate and timeline, strengthen primary care, fix staffing, medicines, and diagnostic at sub-centers and public health centers, expand insurance coverage. Ayushman Bharat covers hospitalization for bottom 40%, yet we need to extend coverage to OPD and medicines. Bridge divides, address the urban, rural, and interstate gaps. States like Kerala and Tamil spend more, show better outcomes, and increase grant, but implementation remains uneven. So, if we talk about the roadmap around 2025 to 2030, budgetary increase, PHC strengthening, full Ayushman Bharat coverage expansion, universal health coverage approaching global standards. And what are the barriers to overcome? Physical federalism. Health is a state subject. Center can guide but not mandate its spending. Political incentives favor visible infrastructure like roads, metros over public health. Powerful private hospital lobby with little incentive to see public provision expand. So India is home to 1.4 billion people and aspires to be a developed economy by 2047. But no country has achieved that status by leaving its citizens to bankrupt themselves to stay alive. Public health is not charity, it's the foundation on which a productive economy is built. Infrastructure, workforce, and systems we build today will determine whether families can survive illness without losing everything. India can afford to spend more. The question is whether we choose this or not. So the time is to act now. Every year that passes with inadequate public health spending pushes millions more into the poverty. The policies are known, resources are also available. What is needed is to politically we prioritize health over the expenditures. And the choice before India is clear. Continue the status quo, watch families bankrupt by illness, or invest in public health and build a foundation for true economic development. Thank you.